Well, welcome back to Breakfast with Bacon. We have Doug Bacon, managing partner here at Throwing Words, whose last name inspired our series. We have Julie Zalua, who we fondly call Jay-Z, who is in the background making sure everything happens. And you have me, Lynn Ingersoll, your host. We started this series as an effort to share what we're learning. We were really surprised at this time at all the things we were learning each week about each other and about our clients, and we're sharing what we're learning in the hopes that you will actually take a moment to compare that to what's going on in your world and learn a few things and help be more productive in your own world. One of the things that we really highlighted last week was we have a new product offering, and it's going to be an app called Making Meetings Work. We've been experimenting with it for about the last 60 days, and we wanted to take the data that we've received about that and from that app to really take a look at, okay, what is it telling us? It was interesting because Doug's first thought was, great, this is going to be an academic exercise. And in his words, that translates to a big old fat waste of my time. When it was all over, though, he had some amazing insight. So I'm going to turn it over to Doug to share what he learned from that exercise.
Thanks, Lynn. Yes, I was imagining how that conversation was going to go on that Friday morning, because as we had been rating our meetings, I'd looked in the database, and so I'd seen the results. So I knew that the scores were high. I knew that they were impactful. I knew that they were worth our time and doing. And so I was kind of like, well, what's going to come out of this conversation about it? And surprise of all surprises, actually, there were a couple of key takeaways for me, kind of around using technology, but also thinking about time differently. So technology, well, the fact that we were able to have this data, we were leveraging technology. So this mobile app, simple app that really gives us real-time feedback on the impact of our meetings and what, and in particular, what they're costing in salary. And then time in terms of how we use our time. How can we increase impact kind of in how we approach time? And so what we found was that the meetings were rated highly, 4 or 5 out of 5 stars over that time period. And we agreed that it was worth the salary investment we were putting into it. While we couldn't have a direct correlation between that hour and a client or a project that came in, we did know that just anecdotally it was valuable from what we were taking away from those conversations. And so that led us to another question, which was, okay, so we know it's worth it. How can we increase the impact of those meetings? And the first place we went was, okay, so what if we, instead of taking an hour, we took 30 minutes? How could we do that? And to do that, one of the interesting things that came out of that was kind of the acknowledgement that I really like talking out loud and processing. And so kind of sharing what's happened that week is really good for me. And then Jay-Z and Lynn, you both are very patient, but are pretty quickly ready to, like, let's move to action. Let's actually do something about this. So shorten it to 30 minutes would accelerate kind of the path to action. And so we talked about what that could look like. And what we decided to try was for me to do a daily download using technology. So using a subscription service called Bonjoro, which is a video email. It embeds a video into email. And so what I've done since we had that conversation was at the end of each day or the beginning of the next, I'll record, it's no more than 5 minutes, just a walkthrough of the day and what needs to happen. And so that allows us to keep our Friday meetings to 30 minutes instead of an hour. And it has this strategic byproduct of forcing me or allowing me to every day process versus building up into processing every week. So now Jay-Z gets this video, and she knows all the actions that she can start taking. She can take things off my plate because she knows what's happening. And all of that came about because we stopped and had a conversation and looked at with the question of what does the data say?
So that academic exercise actually turned out to be useful.
Yeah, sure.
And You know, it was funny because I remember you saying for you, the magic was in the conversation. And at one point, you even paused and said, "Am I driving you two crazy?" And I imagine when you think about strengths, both Jay-Z and I have achiever in us. So we are very much, could we get to the point where we're moving through to something? And you've got a number of harmony. You like to, go through that some other.
Yes. As I like to say, I'm not burdened by the need to achieve anything.
Well, that's amazing. So it was really great to spend a short period of time to look at our data and analyze it and actually make some changes. So since a lot of people aren't familiar with this new app, how about sharing what it does? You know, it's pretty simple, just a couple questions. What exactly is your goal with that? And let's share that with people. Maybe even people could shout out who would be interested in being part of a beta or hearing more about it.
Yeah, it's yeah, the idea was to be able to get real-time feedback on kind of the impact of meetings and also how much those meetings are costing, and by getting anonymous feedback from meeting participants. You know, the stats are there that yes, meetings are important, and so many meetings feel like a waste of time, and so we wanted to tackle that issue of how do we identify what meetings are worth it, and so that we can do more of those and which ones are not, so we can do less or accomplish those in different ways. And so we created an app that pretty basic. It just connects to your calendar, and at the scheduled end of a meeting, you get a push notification or pop up on your phone, and it asks you 3 questions. Did the meeting start on time? Was it worth your time? And we did start on time. Did it end on time? And was it worth your time? And that's the 5-star rating for that last question. And so within a few seconds, we send the feedback, and we're able to collect that and keep the names out, but then create the summaries of the data to see what meetings are really effective and worth their time.
And we're a small team. Even within 60 days, it was useful information and a useful exercise for us to go through. Would you say there's a target audience or size of an organization, or certain things that organizations do that might be best suited to attempting the beta or being part of the initial launch?
Yeah, we kind of have started thinking about meetings in kind of two sets of meetings. There's the running of the business meetings, so the daily huddles, the weekly teams, monthly departments, kind of quarterly all hands meetings, and then there the kind of the other, the party planning committee, or whatever. And it's still just a theory that we have, but I suspect it's the other meetings that where the most interesting data may well come from in terms of being impact and how much time is being spent on those. So I would say it worked for us for a team of 3. Certainly the more people, the more teams, the numbers of people, the more money that's being invested in them. And so I think it's probably useful for almost any size. But it's kind of the question of, from the leadership level, are they confident, comfortable enough to get this feedback, 1, and then 2, are they willing to do something different because of the feedback, right? Because the tricky thing is when you ask for someone's opinion, that you're setting an expectation that you're going to do something in response to what they share. So the last thing you want to do is to surface what meetings are impactful and which are not, but not respond to those. So it's kind of the having support from the leadership that we're going to act on this data. And then the second piece is be ready to provide some training on effective meetings as well.
Yeah, it seemed like a really simple app to use, and gave us some great information after a short period of time to take some action on. So for anybody that's interested, just reach out in LinkedIn and tell us more what you're interested in. We'll reach out to you to see how we can get connected. Well, Doug, great insights for a short period of time. Glad to hear that. We will wrap up this session, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.